Here is my friend, Dain ForSythe. He is a fantastic Bodhran player. I played the Bodhran a little bit when I was in middle school, just enough to learn that it is a very technical, difficult instrument to play, and I can't wait to see this workshop. I've seen him do workshops before, and I know that they are fantastic. Dain has studied and performed and taught Irish traditional music in the whole Southwest for over 20 years now. He actually worked at our very own Apple Mountain Music when it still existed. I used to love that place. And he's been presenting and encouraging and supporting locals and traveling folk legends alike throughout the years. He's taught all over at Zookfest, the sadly now, I think, temporarily defunct Zookfest. Let's hope it comes back. And a bunch of other Irish music workshops. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Dain.
All right. Quick tech question. I keep getting admittance requests here. Is that something I should take care of, or is that something you guys have?
We got that.
Cool. Fair enough.
I'll just work on the music
stuff. So welcome, everybody. This is going to be an introductory workshop, but if you have questions, I want you to ask them. If they're more than, if you already have some experience with this drum, and you have a question that you've been dying to ask, I want you to ask that as well. So we can take it wherever we need to go. I'm going to see if I can't increase the number of faces that I can see at once. There we go. Fantastic. All right. So it's always helpful if you do have video and you don't mind showing your face up here on the video. It's always helpful to us, the workshop instructors, to see people, just because your response tells me, just gives me more information and kind of guides me. So I just want to say hello to everybody. We've got William, Steve, Ed, Todd, Sandy, Tracy, Healing Strong, and Deborah and Jennifer, and Michelle. I came in on the last bit of yours, Michelle. That was fantastic. So the first thing I'd like everybody to try to do is get the documentation that comes with this workshop. So the best thing to do is to go down to the bottom of your screen and look for the chat.
It just posted.
Did it just post? Okay, go into that chat.
I just posted it just to one person. Hold on, let me send it to everybody.
Okay, hang on.
That would be better.
Cool. All right, I'm assuming it's a go. Go into that chat. I'm gonna go in there myself, guys, to kind of see. Yeah, there's a link right there. There's a handout that's downloadable for you to have. All right, that's kind of the format of what we're gonna do today. We're gonna start out with a basic march rhythm, and then we're gonna compare that to the reel, because they are related rhythmically, even though they're very different types of tunes. And then we're going to dig into the jig a little bit, which is the 6/8 rhythm. It's in a form of 3. It's usually the most unintuitive of the two. But I think once you understand how to operate the drum and your hands and whatnot, you can probably pick it up pretty easily. So, and the jig is the one rhythm that is the most Irish, at least recognizably so. So this should be a lot of fun. Now, if you are watching and you don't actually have a drum, you can use a book and a pencil. And if you hold it sideways, you can use the pencil as your tipper. And I'll show you how to hold that in a minute, okay? You can use the book, and you're just going to use the side of the book as if it's the skin of the drum. And you're going to use, hopefully you have a decent eraser on the pencil. You can use the eraser so you're not beating up that book too badly. The other option too is, if you, at the end of the day, really enjoy this and you're interested in getting a drum, but you don't have anything to practice with and you don't really want to use the book, you can always go to your local pizza shop and get yourself a free, because of the advertising, right? A free box You could eat the pizza and use the box, but that's questionable. But go to Dion's, grab one of these for free, and then you can go and grab some skewers from your local grocery store. Cut the tips off because the sharp tips are not really, they're dangerous actually, they are skewers. And then just tape it, any kind of tape down the middle, right? I mean 12 to 18 skewers here, bundled up, and that's all you really need to get going, right? So until that Bodhran arrives, because you're probably going to have to go online. Now, in that handout, I also have a list of makers. I have inexpensive makers, and I also have more expensive makers. So I think the first list is where you can get a drum for 150 bucks, maybe less. And the rest, the more expensive makers, they're between 350 and 400. So if you're really diving into this and you're having a lot of fun and you want to spend a little bit more money on it, I would definitely go to those makers. You definitely want a drum that's going to be tunable, especially if you live in this environment. This environment is harsh on acoustic instruments, and the Bodhran is no exception. So you want to be able to untune it, which means you're going to loosen the head, because if a low system or if it rains or something and you're playing your drum, you're going to have to tighten it up. And if you forget to untighten it, which means to adjust the tension on the skin, if you forget to do that, it's very possible that when that rain goes away, it's going to dry out, and that skin's going to pull right up off of that rim. So you want something that's tunable so that you can tune it back to where it's almost floppy, just for safety's sake. And I also suggest that you get, regardless of whether it's an inexpensive Bodhran or not, you really do need a case. And there are cloth cases out there, synthetic cloth cases as well, for not too much money, just to keep it around. And so that's the basic part there. I want to dig into the very basics of how are we going to hold this drum, all right? So we have our drum. You want to make sure that your feet are flat on the floor. You want to try to find a chair that allows you to sit comfortably. You don't want arms in your chair, okay? Because they'll get in the way of your arms in holding the drum and moving the tipper. So try to find a chair that has no arms, all right? You want to make sure that your thigh is parallel to the floor as best you can. For some folks, that might mean pushing your foot out a little bit further to make sure that your thigh is parallel with the floor. Because if you're on the shorter side, it's possible that your drum is going to want to roll out over your knee. So that's the reason for having a parallel thigh, because you want it to be able to just sit there, right? You don't want to be fighting it and holding on to it while you're trying to play, all right? The other element too is this is a fairly small drum. I have a larger drum, but basically you want to make sure that you can stick your hand in here. If you have a drum, you want to use your thumb and your forefinger. You put it in the top. You should be able to just hold it out here. That's a secure hold right there. So that's the beginning of it anyway, right? So you make sure that you've got a good hold on it with your thumb and your forefinger. And you put it up, I actually put it up against the skin, but up in the crease right here, right up in the corner, so that you're not interfering with the tone qualities that you're going to get out of your drum. Once you have that established, put it on your thigh. Now, there are different approaches. You can play with it out here in front of your chest. You want it to be right up against your rib cage here, fairly snug, and then you can hold it with this part of your arm is going to be holding the edge here. So you've got point of contact right before your elbow on the inside. You have 2 points of contact with your hands and your point of contact with your thigh. Should be very secure. Okay, now some people want to tuck it, and I play both ways. Some people will want to tuck it if it's a smaller drum, especially. They'll roll it up underneath their armpit a little bit, and then bring everything forward a little bit. That's perfectly fine. The number one thing is you need to be comfortable, and you want to make sure that your position of your drum in regards to your body is ergonomic. Right? So if you're crouching over a whole lot, over a period of time, it's gonna pay. You're gonna pay for it. So you want to try to keep a straight back as best you can. For the larger drums, tucking it is not going to work so well. So keep it out here. Make sure that you have your 2 point of contact on the inside, your point of contact on the inside of your elbow, and your thigh. You should be set. Right? So that's the drum. Now we've got to take a look at our tipper. I'm going to take a basic tipper here. Now there are different approaches to holding the tipper. I'm going to give you the most basic and the most classic method because it really lends itself to getting started. So I'm holding it in the middle. There's nothing too spectacular about this tipper, but this is the one tipper that I've had the longest. I've probably had it for about 20 years at this point. It's my die-hard tipper. Holding it in the middle, now some people describe holding it like a pencil, but I tend to say hold it like a brush, right? So I have this here, I have this, my middle finger underneath, and my thumb right here. Now, what I want to do is I want to take one side and I want to point it to my sternum. Go ahead and touch your sternum with that. And then I want you to pull it out slowly, keep it pointed at your sternum. But then I want you to look down and make sure that the end of the tipper that's pointed toward you is going to be the one part of the tipper that's going to strike the drum today. Now, there's a method of using both sides. We're not going to get to that today. That's a more advanced technique, and so we're just going to be worried about that one side that's closest to you. If anybody has any questions at any point, I want you to raise your hand, and one of our hosts will unmute you, and you can ask. All right? So we've pointed it to our sternum. We've pulled it out here. This is kind of what it should look like if you're looking down, okay? But what I really want you to do, I'm going to move a little bit closer here. What I want you to do is I want you to turn that tipper at an angle between 35 and 45 degrees. Because if you do that, that means you can pull your elbow out just a little bit and you end up with a straight wrist. This is important for ergonomics because if you're playing with a bent wrist like so, over a period of time, it's going to turn into carpal tunnel or something else. Okay? So you want to make sure that your angle of the tipper is 35 to 45 degrees. That's going to, and your elbow is out a little bit. You don't have to be out here. You want to make sure it's comfortable. You just want to make sure that your wrist, when you're playing, is a straight wrist. Now, if you twist your wrist like you're turning a doorknob, you're using the bones in your forearm the way they're supposed to, right? They're designed to twist, right? You're also using the larger muscles in your forearm. So that's going to give you all the power that you need, and it's going to keep it ergonomic. Now, here's the trick. How do we get this tipper in contact with the skin in the most effective way? Well, I'm going to bring this up again. It's about angles, all right? So we have a perpendicular angle here, and we have a 35 to 45 degree angle with the tipper, and then again another angle with our arm, right? So it should look like a backwards N. Now, if you're looking at yours, from your perspective, it should look like a backward N with a protrusion, right? If you twist your hand at this point the tipper is going to be facing away. The contact point of the tipper is going to be away. But if you twist your arm without moving anything, it's going to bring the tipper into contact with the skin. And as you bring it toward you, it's going to come back away again. This is exactly what we're looking for, because all you have to do is safely and ergonomically twist your arm, and when you do that, you're going to come in contact with that skin. All right, so let's bring this back down. So that's what you're going to be looking for when you look down, okay? So let's strike this thing, all right? So all you should be doing is turning it like a doorknob in order to strike it, right? So if you start here, strike down, and then you can strike back up. Strike down, and strike back up. Go nice and slow, okay? Back up, down, back up. That's your basic stroke. It's all downhill from here. So, let's think about the march. Has everybody been able to access the handouts that were in the chat box? I think we had a few joiners. If you joined in late, go into the chat box real quick. There's a link there. Get that information, okay? Because that's kind of guiding our workshop today. We're starting out with the march. So hopefully has everybody comfortable with striking the drum at this point? Everybody clear on understanding? Give me just put your hand up in the air if you're clear, so I know we can move forward. Okay, fantastic. All right, thank you, Todd. Thank you for that thumbs up, appreciate it. All right, so we have a downstroke and our upstroke. So let's practice just a downstroke and an upstroke. Down, I'll give you a slow count, all right, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And I want you to downstroke on the 1, upstroke on the 2, downstroke on the 3, upstroke on the 4. Ready? 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, ready, stop. All right. Okay. Things that you might be experiencing is a scraping sound when you get started. That's normal. Okay, that's normal. That eventually goes away with practice, right? It might sound a bit like this. With practice, that's going to go away because your ear is going to tell you that's not correct. Right now, if that's what you're doing, you're good for it. Just keep that motion going, okay? If you're really concerned about it, you can double check your angles. So it's just bouncing off the skin. What causes that scratching noise is if you're a little bit too close with the tipper in your hand and you're kind of dragging it across the skin. That's what's causing it. Now, for a beginner, like I said, that's normal, so you shouldn't be fretting too much over that. But if you want to try to make some corrections, go ahead and pull back a little bit away from the drum, just so the very tip of the tipper will strike. All right? So be kind to yourself. Understand that this is a learning process, and you're also having to teach your muscles, okay? As adults, we know what we want to hear. We've been listening to music for a really long time, and we have a really good ear. But if this is your first go at the drum, you're going to want to be doing a lot better than you already are, and I get that. As an adult learner, the benefit of being an adult learner is that you do know what you want. The other benefit of being an adult learner is that when we decide to really practice, we tend to really practice, as opposed to younger folks. A lot of younger folks, they'll practice and they'll kind of practice. That's not all young folks, but I would say oftentimes that's the case. But when we make the commitment as adults, we tend to really buckle down on it. So that's the positive thing. So don't be afraid of that. So we've got our downstroke and our upstroke. Let's try the march. Okay, so if you take a peek at the handout if you can, just so you know what's coming. The march has a 1 and 2 and 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The downstroke on the 1, downstroke on the 3. Okay? Just repeat it. It's super simple. Super simple. We're going to get that into our muscles, though. Mentally, we've got this. It's a no-brainer. Getting it to our muscles, that's the harder part for us right now. So let's try that out. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time, 3, 4. Okay. Now what I'd like you to try to do is I want you to put an accent on the 1 and the 3, which is our downbeats. If you look at the handout closely, you'll notice that for the march, the 1 and the 3, those arrows are a little bit thicker. That's to indicate a little bit more volume on those downbeats. Okay? So that also means that when you're coming back up, you want it to be at a little bit less in volume. All right? So listen to this first, and then I'll stop, and then I'll call you all in. Okay? So watch and listen first, and then I'll stop, and then we'll all do it together. So first, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you should have been able to hear a little more volume on the 1 and the 3. That's what we're after. All right, so that's what I want you to be listening for yourself. All right. So all together, everybody. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time, 3, 4. All right, fantastic. I need a show of hands. How many people you've got this? Give me a you've got this. You show me your hands if you've got this. All right, let's put them down. Show me a hand if you're like, nah, I don't know yet. I don't know yet. You need a little more of this because I'm going to give it to you. Anybody need more of that? No? Did I see this? Did I see that, Jennifer? Was that you? Yeah? Okay. Chat is disabled. Thank you, Laura. I'm sure one of our hosts is working on that right now. Okay? So Laura, in the next 2 or 3 minutes, if it's still disabled, flash that up again for us. All right? Thank you. Fantastic. All right. So we've just went through the march. I want you to practice the march. All right? Because we're 15 minutes in. Let's go. You know what? I'm going to stop here. I'm going to give you guys the reel because we're short on time. And the reel, it looks more complicated, but technically speaking, it's not. It's the same thing as the march that we just did, but our heavy or louder downstroke is just on the 1. And the other difference about the reel is I count it in an 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So the 1 is greater volume, and the 5 is of greater volume. There's also some mnemonic devices underneath each one. So the mnemonic device that I provide for the reel is agitated alligator. We can talk about that a little bit later here. Okay? So let's try out that reel. It's basically the same thing as the march. Make sure that your Bodhran is secure. Right? 1, 2, up in the corner. Flat feet. Level thighs. Everything tucked in. Make sure that the angles in your stick and your drum are all lined up so you have a straight wrist while you're playing. All right. We're not going to play the reel any faster than we just did the march. Okay. So I'm going to count it out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last time, 7, 8. All right. The biggest difference between the march and the reel at this point for us is probably the speed. All right. I don't want to pick up the speed too much because if you're just getting started, that's going to throw a lot of things off, right? So some key elements about practice. How do you develop your skill sets physically faster? Meaning in, say, a 3-week period of time, right? How do you get the most out of that 3 weeks in your practice? And the key is, if you're looking to advance in your skills more quickly in a 3-week period of time, which means more skill in 3 weeks than otherwise, slow practice consistently 10 minutes a day, twice a day, or 10 minutes twice a day, morning or afternoon or something like that, is probably the optimum method of gaining that skill set, because you're building muscle memory, right? That's the key element for this. When you're starting out brand new movements, you're teaching your body how to move differently, and your body needs time to process that. Mentally, especially as adults, we can process stuff very quickly. We know what we want, but our body needs time to catch up. So if you're consistent about practicing slowly, 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the afternoon, or however you want to break it up, that's all you need. If you do that consistently for 3 weeks every day, by the end of that 3 weeks, you're going to be nailing it. You're going to be solid. If you speed up because you want that speed, because you want to play with the melody players, and I totally get it. You know, we're not playing melody here. We want to be able to play with those tunes. I want to caution you with that. I want you to, you can get the amazing slowdowner and slow down the tunes. That's software you can get online. You can also get other, I use the VLC player, where you can drop in MP3 sound files, and you can slow it down so that you can actually play along. Keeping your practice slow and accurate. It's the accuracy element that's going to build your skill sets. So you're going to be playing more accurately in 3 weeks if you keep it nice and slow. And I guarantee you, you're going to end up speeding up anyway. But if you give that 3 weeks of nice slow play, and you let those muscles develop, you're going to be playing really accurately at the end of the 3 weeks. And when you do increase your speed a little bit, it's still going to be accurate, and that's really key, right? So as rhythm players, you want to have a great deal of accuracy. All right. Let's take a peek at the jig. We only have a couple more minutes left. The jig is, again, a 6/8, so it's in forms of 3. And if you take a look at the handout, this is what I think we're seeing, right, on the handout. So we have 6 strikes. And this is the tricky part. The accent is on the first downbeat, down, 2, 3, but then the next accent is on the upbeat. So 4, 5, 6. And that's the tricky part. So real quickly, I'll count it out. I'll go first, and then I want everybody to join in. So watch, listen. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last time, 4, 5, 6. Everybody join in. Everybody join in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last time, and 4, 5, 6. Basic jig. All right. Homework. If you want homework right out the gate, I have that for you. Not a problem. It's about muscle development, and it has to do with the jig. The hardest part about getting that jig rhythm in the very beginning is that 4 beat where you're putting in an accent on your upswing, and that is unintuitive when you get started. So the homework would be this. Just isolate that upswing and practice that. It's like lifting weights. If you do this for 3 to 4 minutes, every time you sit down to practice, you're going to develop those muscles. And pretty soon, it'll sound just like the downstroke. All right, so that's your first assignment. If you're interested in continuing with this process, you can go to the website that I have and shoot me an email. My website is called tradbodhran.com. It's on the bottom of the handout, so it's easy to find. You can contact me and we can make arrangements. I hope that you guys have enjoyed this. This is a fantastic drum. You just got your basics, but as you have probably heard online, this drum makes all kinds of different amazing sounds. So I'm happy that you've all found an interest in this amazing drum. I hope you continue moving forward. Contact me if you need to. I'd be happy to help out with any further assistance. I'm going to cut out now because we have somebody waiting in the eaves. So thanks again for joining us. Thank you to the organizers, Lewis and Bill. Thank you very much for organizing this. Yeah, you guys, I can see all kinds of people. I appreciate it. Thank you for attending. I hope you had fun, and I hope you continue too. All right, so I'm going to bow out. All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Dain. That's lovely.